In my law office, we have a demand letter. When I was 12, I used to send demands to my dad's business, pretending I was suing him. And there's no lawyers in my family, so I don't even know how I knew what a demand was. Like, some of my neighbors would be like, we knew you were gonna be who you are, you know? But nobody ever told me, like, this is unique, this is different. As a child, I feel like there was a very heavy emphasis on beauty. I did ballet for 12 years. I was in pageants. Can you imagine? So this again was like put on me, like, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. My whole life I was told that, like, as a little child. But it was like, now you must maintain this. I always viewed beauty as like something I had to be accepted. That, like, if I'm beautiful, then life will be easier, which is a hard thing for women, because that's why a lot of women hate aging, is because they feel that their beauty is diminishing. And when you view beauty on a soul level, you realize that does not diminish, you know? I think I see myself much more beautiful now living unapologetically. Like, I'm who I want to be. I was actually looking at pictures and videos of myself 5 years ago, and I almost feel like I don't recognize myself. I used to be so apologetic about who I was. So I would use very wishy-washy words. I would say, you know, maybe we should do this, or should, could. If you hear people saying that, there's a lot of like indecisiveness. I think even the way I used to dress 5 years ago, it was like I wanted to blend in. You know, I wanted to be a lawyer. If you had asked me then, I would have said, I'm living unapologetically. But like me, if I met that person, I would say no. You know what I mean? Part of living unapologetically is getting really comfortable having constant hard conversations. Because when someone breaches your boundary, you have to say, this is not working for me. Or when you feel like this, like something's not going, you have to actually say, I'm not feeling okay about this. Most people don't want to do that. Sometimes you get into a state where you're like, oh, I know I need to rip this weed out, this vine. There's something deep ingrained that's got to be done, but it's going to be really inconvenient. Like, it's really inconvenient to be unapologetic and to do things that are, like, getting a divorce is not a convenient thing. Having to terminate an employee or a team member that you really wanted it to work, it's highly inconvenient. But doing the easy thing, like, it's almost like a Band-Aid. Like, it'll buy you some time, but it's not even good time because you're suffering. So it's like, how can you get into a state where you do things that make you uncomfortable quicker? There's blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this. I mean, there is crying and like breakdowns and like thinking you're not gonna make it. I remember I went to a mindset retreat back in 2017 or 2018, and they said the reason most people won't do all this work on themselves is because you will have to leave behind a lot of people, because not everyone's gonna grow with you. So if you listen to people, you'll hear they have an underlying story about their life, and some of it is not serving them. And I was just at lunch yesterday with somebody, and I was like, this story you tell about yourself, like, you'll notice in conversation, this person will say, yeah, I'm so crazy. And it's like, you're not crazy. Why do you keep saying that? That is where it gets hard sometimes. Like, or this person will say, yeah, I always lose. I'm like, Like, why do you keep putting that out in the universe? Somebody at some point put that frame in their mind, and so it keeps perpetuating. And you just want to break them free of it and say, that's a story. You could reframe that story tomorrow. I always win. I'm always happy. I always find great people everywhere I go. But you've attached yourself to this negative story that keeps perpetually proving itself to be true in your life. That is hard for me. And this is what we were talking about, how when you move beyond, it's like you can't unsee it. You're just listening to people suffer unnecessarily. The lesson is like you have to deal with issues head on, because if you don't, you're not fooling anyone. Number one, you're not fooling yourself. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you have. But in addition to that, when you do things that scare you and then you walk through them, it's almost like you're emboldened. Because then you're like, oh, what else am I like resisting that I should just move straight through? So I'm always trying to surround myself with people that I think like inspire me or are further along than me or have a bigger vision than me. And as you keep growing, you have to find new people to give you that sense, right? And it's really hard to leave behind people that are not coming on that ride with you. That's very hard. You know, becoming a parent was very challenging for me. I used to be racked by mom guilt. I'm talking like physically, painfully, can't move, racked with guilt. That discomfort of that mom guilt was a driving force for me to get help. It controlled every move I made. If I was at work, I was feeling like I shouldn't be there. If I was at home, I was like feeling like I should be at work. So I lived in this perpetual state of no matter where I was unhappy. And I know so many people that live in that state on a daily basis. And it's soul crushing to live that way. And the reason I had such a challenge is because my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So the narrative and the construct that I grew up in is that you are supposed to be with your kids 24/7 all day long. And if you're a good mom, that's what you do. But the person I was born to be loves work, loves creating. So I wanted to be a good mom and I wanted to be myself. And there was a values conflict where I couldn't figure out how to be me. And why would I be given all these ambitions and desires and creativity if I wasn't supposed to express them? I was just like in this perpetual state of hell, trying to be myself, but be the best mom I could be. There was a point in 2018 where my parents used to just tell me terrible things. Like they would tell me, you're a part-time mom. And so it would perpetuate my shame and guilt. And I went into deep study on how to become the best parent ever. And what I discovered is I had not developed a criteria for what I thought it meant to be a great parent. And then I started realizing if I'm living in my definition, I don't really care what anyone else's definition is. And so I broke free from the chains of society's view of what a woman should be. I would guess 70% of working women live in that paradigm I just described. I don't live there at all. That was a really big change. And I think that's why you see so few women in the legal industry, really at the highest levels, because they're running households. They're managing a lot of mental and emotional bandwidth, and then trying to run their law firm or be an amazing trial lawyer. And it's very burdensome. And if you don't get your handle on it, society will tell you that you're doing everything wrong. The schools are sending out hundreds of emails a week demanding for women, mostly women, to manage all of these things. Hey, send your kid to school tomorrow in all camouflage. Well, we don't have any camouflage in their wardrobe. What am I gonna go to Target right now at 9 o'clock at night? I had one of the teachers ask me if I would come in weekly and do all their copies for them. I said, absolutely not. I wouldn't even do that in my own law firm. How is that helping my relationship with my child? And that's where we're talking about boundaries and saying no and having difficult conversations. A lot of women will be like, well, okay, yes. And it's like, I didn't even want to do that. I don't even know why I got talked into doing that. Society will constantly demand from, as a woman, for you to give away your time for free and to be perpetually available to take care of everyone else. I was speaking like 2 weeks ago on a seminar for women lawyers, very successful. And I said, how many of you still clean your own house? And it was like 50%. Nobody's even given them the option or the thought or the permission that you don't have to do this anymore. These women are living the way I used to live, where it's like they don't have 5 minutes to themselves. You know, they're over-volunteered, they're over-leveraged, and they're expected to not only run their whole house, do all the laundry, all the cooking, all the cleaning, and then be unapologetically yourself? No. Where's the space for that? I always say, like, I'm living in a way that like no woman before me in my family history could have ever lived. I mean, women didn't even have access to get bank accounts until the 1970s. I have autonomy, I have independence, I can, create my world. I have financial freedom. That's not something anybody in my family that was a woman ever had. So I'm already like making this shit up as I go, right? There's parts of me when I was 16 or 17 that I think I've returned to. Like, I was kind of edgy when I was 16. I was a bit unapologetic. I mean, I used to go to punk shows. I was a rebel. I was like I had a girl gang. We were quite fun. Like, I feel like I'm the same person, but like now I own it.